In the headlines of this hour on VTV News, Prime Minister receives Apple CEO Tim Cook and discuss collaboration between Apple and Vietnam. Later on, production capacity enhanced through expanding area codes. In our world news, Israel will respond to Iran's weekend missile attack.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good afternoon. It is currently 3 p.m. local time and you're tuning in to 30 minutes of VTV News. I'm Lilian Lei with the latest updates. Now, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh received Apple CEO Tim Cook on Tuesday. The Vietnamese leader expressed appreciation and gratitude towards Apple for expanding production and business in Vietnam, thereby creating more than 200,000 jobs for the people. The Prime Minister discussed Vietnam's significant achievements during nearly 40 years of đổi mới or innovation. He emphasized that these are comprehensive guidelines and policies that Vietnam has consistently implemented under the leadership of the Communist Party of Vietnam, headed by General Secretary Nguyễn Cham. In the future, to enhance the Vietnam-U.S. comprehensive strategic partnership and foster good political relations, the Prime Minister has requested Apple's continued support. This includes helping Vietnam improve its institutions, promoting green development and production, and advancing renewable energy sources. He stated that the government will establish a working group to support Apple's increasingly effective development in Vietnam. Now, during the meeting, Apple CEO Tim Cook shared that he was enjoying a productive work visit to Vietnam. He appreciated the warm welcome from locals and was impressed by Vietnam's innovative community. He also expressed appreciation for the Prime Minister's insights on Vietnam's development orientations and goals and conveyed his desire to enhance high-quality cooperation and investment activities in Vietnam. Moving on to other news, continuing the 32nd session, the National Assembly Standing Committee convened on Tuesday morning under the chairmanship of National Assembly Chairman Vương Đình Huệ to discuss a report outlining voters' opinions on several matters. Accordingly, voters highly appreciated the two Q&A sessions held in March by the Standing Committee for the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as well as the Standing Committee's suggestions to further improve 8 law projects before submitting them to the National Assembly. Voters also appreciated the National Assembly chairman's visit to China and its fruitful results. However, while recognizing the efforts of the traffic police force in handling alcohol and drug violations, voters expressed concern about the widespread existence of online gambling games, as well as the drought and saline intrusion in the Mekong Delta and Central Highlands. During the session, the Standing Committee of the National Assembly also urged competent agencies to swiftly address complaints related to land disputes. That is particularly important for the 15 lawsuits that indicated complex issues regarding security and order. In the first quarter of 2024, the value of corporate bond issuance is estimated to reach over $741,000, a decrease of 36% compared to the same period last year. To help the bond market regain recovery momentum quickly, several comments were shared over the weekend at the Unlocking Vietnam Debt Capital Market Conference. This conference was organized by Phie Ratings and the Credit Guarantee and Investment Fund, CGIF, a trust fund established by the Asian Development Bank.
To restore investor confidence in corporate bonds, the role of a bond guarantee unit is becoming essential. This intermediary organization ensures payment obligations to bondholders in the event of issuer insolvency, thereby reassuring investors on the demand side.
Currently, we do have roughly $1.1 billion of paid in cash as an equivalent equity, and our portfolio, guarantee portfolio, is designed not to exceed the healthy leverage.
The debt capital market lacks institutional investors, particularly insurance firms. Vietnamese insurance funds face issues with existing mechanism, predominantly allocating funds to government bonds and bank deposits.
Insurance faces a significant issue. It is not permitted to invest in restructured corporate bonds because restructuring is viewed negatively. This necessitates reducing the ratio of short-term capital for medium and long-term loans. The bank's lending limit of 5 years conflicts with businesses' need for loans spanning 10 to 15 years, inevitably leading to restructuring after 5 years.
Issuing bonds requires a specific project from the business, which involves waiting for legal documentation. It reflects the process of borrowing capital.
In addition, to enhance market transparency, regulations from 2024 will also require mandatory credit ratings for some bond insurance cases.
Establishing a credit rating culture is crucial for businesses to understand their position, determine the interest rates for issuance, and identify necessary changes for success.
Phie Ratings has conducted credit ratings for over 30 issuing businesses. These ratings have been used by numerous institutions for investment evaluation, selection, and post-investment management, thus contributing to the development of bond market yield curve.
Despite enjoying high purchase prices for the first 3 months of 2024, the Mekong Delta's durians have recently suffered a significant price drop. Over the past 10 days, the price of some durian varieties has plunged to half of the original price. The Monthong and RI6 varieties are now selling at $4.35 and $2.77 respectively. According to the Vietnam Fruit and Vegetable Association, the primary reason is the lack of strict control over the quality of exported durians. When prices were high, traders committed to a contract with Chinese partners to deliver large quantities of durians. However, farmers could not supply high-quality durians quickly enough and had to harvest young durian fruit to meet traders' demands. Additionally, severe drought and saline intrusion have also contributed to the low quality of durian harvests, which gave traders leverage to force farmers into selling at low prices. Expanding area codes is vital for Vietnamese agricultural products to enter global markets. Binh Thuận, located in the south-central region, is known for its extensive cultivation and export of dragon fruit. Every year, over 80% of the fresh dragon fruit yield is exported. Binh Thuận growers focus on improving their production capacity to ensure consistent sales. They stay updated with the regulations of importing countries to minimize risks.
Since 2017, the Thuận Tiến Dragon Fruit Cooperative has targeted the discerning market by proactively adhering to global standards. In addition to cultivating clean dragon fruits and reducing carbon emissions, the cooperative has been continuously updating itself on the stringent production regulations of importing nations.
Regularly staying updated on a country's evolving standards is crucial, as they vary annually. Failure to do so can lead to complications, potentially resulting in goods being destroyed abroad, causing hardship for suppliers and exporters.
Complying with the requirements of importing countries has helped Thuận Tiến Dragon Fruit Cooperative easily obtain 4 export growing area codes. Every year, this cooperative supplies hundreds of tons of dragon fruit to Europe and Australia. In 2023 alone, over 300 tons of fresh dragon fruit were officially exported at a stable price of 91 cents per kilogram.
To maintain stable market prices and output in exports, farmers need to focus and take measures to prevent the fruit from becoming fragmented, and as it did in the past.
This solution demonstrates our strict adherence to good agricultural practices, GAP, and the importing country's standards. Accordingly, the province periodically tasks the relevant department to collaborate with local authorities to oversee inspections, encourage compliance, and uphold planting and packaging area codes.
Binh Thuận province boasts over 600 export dragon fruit cultivation area codes and 150 packaging facilities. The trademark Binh Thuận dragon fruit enjoys protection in 14 countries and territories. This serves as a crucial tool for growers to enhance production quality at the source, aligning with export standards.
National carrier Vietnam Airlines has adjusted its flight routes to Europe, specifically to avoid flying over the Middle East due to escalating tensions in the region. Current operating flight routes between Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, and Paris, Frankfurt, and London will have a 15-minute extended airtime, along with some incurring operating costs. Vietnam Airlines has stated that it will reinstate the original flight route once the situation in the Middle East eases. The Cam Vĩnh Hảo Expressway is ready to be put into operation. The project spans nearly 79 kilometers and is part of the North-South Expressway Phase 1 project, passing through the provinces of Khánh Hòa, Ninh Thuận, and Bình Thuận. To date, the main components have been built and completed on schedule. During Phase 1 of operation, the Cam Vĩnh Hảo Expressway project had a total investment of $356.2 million. It features 4 lanes and a maximum allowed speed of 90 kilometers per hour. To ensure traffic safety on the route, emergency stops are situated every 5 kilometers. The Cam Vĩnh Hảo Expressway project is expected to be inaugurated at the end of April. After the project is put into operation, Phase 1 of the North-South Expressway from Nha Trang to Ho Chi Minh City will officially run smoothly, reducing travel time to only about 4.5 hours, which is half the time compared to traveling on National Highway Number 1. And before we move on, let's have a look at the exchange rate between the Vietnam Dong and some world currencies in today's market. Coming up next on VTV News. Farmers struggle with prolonged saltwater intrusion in Ho Chi Minh City. And later on, Cu Chi Tunnels, the symbol of Vietnam's revolutionary heroism. Moving on to other important updates, severe water shortages caused by a heat wave and saltwater intrusion in southern provinces have adversely impacted local farmers' agricultural production. Stress caused by saltwater intrusion has weakened trees and crops, causing significant losses for farmers. That is our report from Binh Lợi Commune, Binh Chánh District, Ho Chi Minh City.
This farmer has cultivated 3 hectares of yellow apricot trees. Severe water shortages caused by prolonged heat waves and saltwater intrusion have slowed the growth of the trees, causing leaves to wilt and die.
Saltwater intrusion has been occurring on a large scale for more than 2 months, devastating my yellow apricot trees. Water shortages have caused the tree branches to dry out. Most of the trees have been dying.
Prolonged heat waves and saltwater intrusion have turned the lives of local farmers upside down as their agricultural activities are adversely impacted.
We recommend that local farmers use automated irrigation systems or drip irrigation to reduce water waste.
To minimize damage caused by saltwater intrusion, local authorities in Ho Chi Minh City have implemented many solutions. These include accelerating the construction of water supply systems, improving irrigation system maintenance, using efficient watering models, and converting crop structures.
If drought and saltwater intrusion intensify, we will store fresh water and divert water from the Saigon River into the An Ha River.
Severe drought and saltwater intrusion are forecast to prolong until the end of April. Local farmers are advised to store water for irrigation and apply efficient watering systems to better adapt to the dry season.
On Monday afternoon, Coast Guard Region 3 Command and local authorities set up several freshwater stations to support residents suffering from drought and saline intrusion in Bến Tre province. Accordingly, 1,000 bottles, equivalent to 20 liters of fresh water, were distributed free of charge to people in Binh Đại district. This was just the initial support that kicked off the campaign to provide fresh water for the local people's domestic use. The support activities will be maintained and run by the Coast Guard Region 3 Command in the coming days. On Tuesday morning in Hanoi, the People's Army Publishing House, in coordination with the Vietnam Book Culture and Knowledge Joint Stock Company, launched a book collection to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the Dien Bien Phu victory. The collection comprises 30 books that feature the memoirs of prominent generals who were directly involved in commanding the Dien Bien Phu campaign. It also includes research, summaries, and analysis that shed light on the wise leadership of the party and President Ho Chi Minh, along with the military commands. The collection includes stories associated with memorabilia and memories of veterans who were in combat, as well as literary works inspired by the event. The People's Army Publishing House will organize exhibitions and introductions of the book collection in Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, and Dien Bien in response to the 2024 Vietnam Book and Reading Culture Day. The 70th anniversary of Dien Bien Phu victory is only a month away. Now, during the first days of April, tourists flocked the paths leading to Dien Bien province to appreciate the nation's proud history. Drawing opportunities from this historic event, the local authorities have hosted the National Tourism Year 2024 to develop tourism with regards to nature, history, and culture.
The Thai Cultural Club in Dien Bien Phu City has more than 100 members. They gather for club activities regularly, striving to uphold traditional cultural values.
We gather as an active club to preserve traditional culture. We often perform at keynote cultural events in our province and attract a large group of visitors each time.
At the first ever homestay in Tie Can Hamlet, not far from the headquarters of Dien Bien Phu campaign, local people have been creative with their ways of integrating indigenous culture into tourism service.
The locals make homemade meals from their vegetables and flower gardens. They are savory and original.
As more and more tourists have drawn to the province, it has fundamentally changed.
Our ways of living have drastically changed for the better. We change our ways of communicating and doing daily tasks and keep our streets clean.
As a new tourism hotspot, the Dien Bien Phu Battlefield Relics Complex has generated significant economic gains for the developing mountainous province.
This is our prime opportunity to promote local tourism. We have plans to upgrade our accommodation systems to cater to a growing group of tourists.
Dien Bien Phu aims to attract 1.3 million tourists in 2024, with tourism revenue totaling of $80 million. The land of heroism and revolution is striving towards prosperity thanks to its cultural tourism movement.
From 1954 to 1975, Cu Chi was one of the most heavily bombed areas in southern Vietnam. The U.S. military conducted campaigns to destroy the Cu Chi tunnels, using 500,000 tons of bombs and ammunition and nearly 500 tons of toxic chemicals. However, Vietnamese troops and civilians went underground to survive and continue their guerrilla tactics against the enemy. To this day, the historical site has become a wonder of Vietnam's unique military art, demonstrating the resilient and indomitable will of the people of the Land of Steel, one of the symbols of revolutionary heroism.
This place is known as the White Zone because the US military continuously conducted bombing raids on the area from 1969 to 1972. Despite the deadly bombing attacks, life still existed underground. This is the first time these students have visited the more than 200-kilometer tunnel system that was once a place for living, military meetings, ambulances, and the manufacturing and storage of weapons.
The tunnels are narrow and dark. I wondered how the Vietnamese people could survive and remain strong in such challenging living conditions.
The reenactment area of the Củ Chi liberated zones depicts the lives of Vietnamese guerrilla soldiers and local civilians during the toughest times of the Vietnamese people's resistance war against the US. It was the strong determination and solidarity of the Vietnamese people and soldiers that contributed to the glorious victory of the Ho Chi Minh campaign in 1975. The night tour in the Củ Chi tunnels provides insights into the difficulties faced by the Vietnamese people and soldiers in times of war. There was a thin line between life and death, but they still held a firm belief that they would defeat their enemies.
This is the first time I've joined a night tour to explore the tunnels. I was able to learn about history through the reenacted scenes of battles and the daily lives of local people, which I had previously known only through mass media.
Known as the Land of Steel, Củ Chi has embraced its huge potential to develop local tourism. The Củ Chi tunnels have become a symbol and a legend, illustrating the tenacious spirit of the Vietnamese people through years of bombing, destruction, and vicious fighting.
The Cham Festival holds significant cultural importance, particularly among the Khmer community in the southern region. Amid the traditional New Year ambiance, visiting villages or Theravada Buddhist temples allows one to experience the lively and jubilant atmosphere firsthand.
At the Sanwar Pothinam Pagoda Yard on the second day of the Cham Festival, most Khmer families in the area come to the pagoda to participate in folk games despite the hot midday sun. This year, everyone is excited because people's lives have improved significantly compared to before.
I went to the pagoda to play tug of war and pot smashing. This year is even more enjoyable than previous years.
Thanks to the party and state support, ethnic boarding schools, solidarity houses, and incentives for ethnic groups have flourished. As a result, people now enjoy prosperity and spacious living conditions.
Tug of war, blindfolded pot smashing, and sack jumping are beloved folk games among the Khmer people. These activities not only bring joy during their traditional New Year celebrations, but also serve as practical means to foster community exchange and learning and enhance the spirit of solidarity and unity.
For Khmer people, activities revolve around the pagodas during the New Year. They begin by offering rice in the morning, gather for communal activities and singing at noon, and conclude the day with monks chanting sutras and praying for peace and prosperity in the new year.
In addition to games, people engage in constructing earthen mounds to pray for peace and droughts and honor the deceased during the Chon Tanam Tamay festival. This event not only symbolizes the Khmer belief in the yearly cycle, but also serve as a platform to instill values of filial piety, solidarity, and strengthening community bonds and love for one another.
Coming up next in our world news, Israel will respond to Iran's weekend missile attack. Global leaders tackle preventive measures for Middle East conflict escalation. Now moving on to our world news, Israel's military chief stated on Monday that Israel would respond to Iran's weekend attack, but it did not elaborate on the timing and method as world leaders urged against retaliation, aiming to avoid a spiral of violence in the Middle East. Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant informed U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin on Sunday that Israel would not accept a scenario where Iran responds with a direct attack each time Israel strikes targets in Syria. However, Israeli officials expressed that they did not desire retaliation against Iran or to disrupt the alliance of countries that assisted Israel in dealing with Iran's attack. Meanwhile, the Iranian foreign minister informed his British counterpart on Monday that Iran does not seek to escalate tensions but will respond immediately and more robustly than before if Israel retaliates. World leaders have called for restraint to avoid further escalation in the Middle East. U.S. President Joe Biden stated on Monday his desire to prevent the Middle East conflict. During talks with the Iraqi Prime Minister at the White House on Sunday, he affirmed the United States' commitment to Israel's security. His country is also committed to a ceasefire that will bring the hostages home and prevent the conflict from spreading. The Iraqi Prime Minister also called for restraint in the Middle East. On Monday, King Abdullah II of Jordan expressed his concern that ongoing regional developments could lead to further escalation, jeopardizing regional security and stability. The Emir of Qatar expressed and stressed the need to reduce all forms of escalation and avoid expanding the conflict in the region. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said he would soon speak with his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu on how to prevent escalation in the region.
Mr. Speaker, before I start, I'd like to express my deepest
Singapore's Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong announced on Monday that he will hand over power to his successor, Deputy Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, on May the 15th. Lawrence Wong, 51, currently serves as the Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister of Singapore and has been the Prime Minister in waiting since 2022. He was appointed as the leader of the fourth-generation People's Action Party Team 2 years ago, positioning him as the next in line for the role of Prime Minister. In a video posted on his social media, Lawrence Wong pledged to do his best for the country. The leadership transition in Singapore will take place according to a clear and transparent roadmap to ensure the country's stability. An election is expected to follow in the months after the handover of power.
I accept this responsibility.
Located 64 kilometers away from Rome, the Garden of Ninfa is the oasis created by Kaitani family on the ruins of the medieval city of the same name, a splendid example of poetry and medieval architecture that stands at the foot of the Lepini Mountains in the province of Latina. Join us in the following report to discover the beauty of this ancient gem.
With the arrival of spring, the legendary gardens of Ninfa have revealed all their majesty in a combination of art, archaeology, and nature that enchants romantics the world over. A crystal-clear river, wisteria touching the walls of the medieval ruins with their inflorescences. All these elements make the gardens of Ninfa an attraction that gives its best in spring with spectacular flowering.
The natural component, the botanical and forestal component of flowers and trees combine with archaeological and historical elements, the ruins of an ancient city that during Middle Age between 1110 and 1350 had its highest peak. And this peculiar combination of stones and trees gives a unique charm to our garden.
The history of the garden itself begins in 1921, when Italian nobleman and diplomat Gilesio Caetani restored some ruins, including the tower and the town hall, and started on the garden, planting botanical species that he collected from abroad during his travels. Inside the 8-hectare garden, visitors can admire over 1,300 species of plants, including 19 varieties of magnolia, birch trees, aquatic irises, and Japanese maples. In spring, ornamental cherry trees bloom, creating a fairy tale atmosphere.
We came here since my mother loves gardening and plants. It's April, so the weather is nice and we knew the trees were blossoming, and that's why we came here. My favorite part is the wisteria descending to the water next to the ruins.
In the present day, the garden appears as picturesque ruins with the remains of a castle, palazzos, churches, and medieval clock towers, all surrounded by the embrace of luxuriant vegetation.
Up next is the weather forecast. And that is all that we have for this hour on VTV News. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye for now.